So last week we talked about the ability to focus our mindfulness. If during that practice there, if you experience some quiet stillness, without the commentary, without all the blah 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 in the background, this is this, this is that, even little gaps of quietness, that's mindfulness. But mindfulness can also exist while it's chaotic. And quite often it can be there, but we don't even realise that it is there. In the same way, if you're standing in a house looking out of a window, quite often you'll forget that you're even in a house. And there's actually a window there that you're looking out of. You get lost in the landscape. So most of our life is spent lost in the landscape. But the skill of meditation, we start to learn to look back in the window and see who's looking out. Last week we learned that we could actually adjust our attention. We could focus it to a very fine point to develop concentration. And we could also widen our awareness out to take everything in. And there's a purpose for these two methods, and this is a skill of meditation, because in learning to adjust this focus, we can balance the energy between becoming very sleepy and dull and being very restless and going off thinking or moving or not being able to sit still. But what happens when we sit down to meditate and it's just chaotic? Anyone experience that? Yeah. So what do? Steve's telling me I'm supposed to be able to do this, and it's just crazy. Well, just thank goodness we're doing mindfulness meditation and not concentration meditation. The lesson today is on moment-to-moment confusion. So maybe this is the practice for you. One thing you'll find quite quickly when you're doing meditation practice is sometimes when you close your eyes, you'll concentrate very easily. Other times you'll close your eyes and there's no way, the child will just not settle down. It's just crazy. Sometimes it's a really foggy sort of thing. You close your eyes, you just can't really look at anything, you can't really see anything, concentrate on anything. Other times you do it and it's restless. Other times you just want to fall asleep. Yeah? And this is where we start to understand, and this is a lesson being taught to us. We think we have to get past that to start meditating, but we don't. That's where meditation is. That's where the payoff is. The payoff is not in the stillness. If you're meditating to experience stillness, that's just another attachment, another addiction. The stillness will come, but not while you're chasing after it. Because the very act of chasing after the stillness is saying, I don't like what's happening now, I want something else to happen. Guess what? You're living in the future and you're being aversive to the present. The peace and quiet and stillness of meditation is in the present moment. It's in each moment. We don't have to create it. The reason we can't see it is we're busy looking out the window. We're looking out the window longing to get somewhere and we don't realise we're already there. So what I'm trying to do, or what my job is to help you exercise your mind, exercise your brain so that you can start to turn your attention back and realise, oh, there it is. I wonder where that peace in my life was. It's there already. This week we've had some pretty stormy weather, haven't we? Yeah. Strong winds, pelting rain. Sometimes it's light, sometimes it's really heavy. Sometimes the winds are strong, sometimes they're not. Sometimes when I look out my window at home, I can see for long distances during this week. Other times I can just see the edge of the veranda and a few trees in the garden. Yeah? Even our cat, sometimes she comes in, she's dry, sometimes she's muddy, sometimes she's sopping wet. So when we look at the weather, we see these changes. We see it changing from windy to rainy to still to sunny. It's changing back again, don't we? It can be warm, it can be cold. So if it starts raining and becoming stormy this afternoon, do you think it's always going to be stormy? Is there a possibility that one day in our lifetime, it might actually be sunny? It might actually be still and pleasant, mightn't it? You know that, don't you? And do you know when it's sunny and it's still and pleasant, do you know that one day it might be rainy and stormy? Do you know if the conditions are right that it could end up foggy out there? And when that fog comes, do you feel that fog is going to be there forever? Or do you think it's got a possibility of clearing up and becoming something else? When we look inside ourselves, sometimes it's stormy, sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's really agitated like windy. Sometimes the fog is so thick, we're kind of stumbling through life not knowing where to put the next foot. Sometimes it's so dark, we feel like leaving this life. We can't see anything for the darkness. When we look at the weather outside, we say, yes, I know it's going to change. I know it's meant to change. I know whatever is happening now is going to change. When the weather patterns inside us arise, we say, this is me, this is what I'm going to be like forever. This will never go away. I am always going to be depressed. I am always going to be sad. I am never going to have anything fulfilling in my life. Don't we? We look at it inside ourselves and we don't have the same understanding, the same wisdom. We look inside ourselves and we go, this is never going to change. People try to tell you, yes it will. You go, no it won't. Yeah? This is what we do. We misunderstand what's happening. Inside us is the flow of experience, the flow of life. Life is a flow of experience. Life changes externally and internally. If I'm happy today, there's a good chance I'll be unhappy tomorrow. If I'm feeling really good today, by this afternoon I might be feeling really bad. Yeah? This is how it is. If we come to understand that, and we watch it through meditation, through mindfulness, we start to understand that nothing is fixed. Let's take depression, for example. This is a really touchy subject. We normally don't talk about that. Depression it has a mental darkness and a turning inside. Now, I get depressed. I still get depressed. Right? But there's a difference, and I'll explain that soon. Depression is the wrong word for it. It should be called retreating. So when life gets too much, our brains retreat from life. Why does anybody retreat? Why is there ever a retreat? We need to retreat to renew. We need to go backwards. We need to go back to ground zero, back to the start, to the very beginning, for anything new to come up. If I'm continually going down in the direction that I'm always going and always pushing forward, how can anything change in my life? Unless I make space for it to change. So we need to make space. Sometimes we intentionally make space, right? We change jobs. Or we leave this job and then start looking for another one, and suddenly our life goes in a different direction, right? We can make change. Sometimes life says, no, that's enough. You're just pushing yourself too hard in this direction. I want change to happen. So it forces you to. How? By creating emotions and feelings that makes you withdraw. But that withdrawal is not a bad thing. The withdrawal is necessary for growth. It's necessary for change. It's a good thing. Whenever anything goes up, it's always got to go down. They sit watching the stock markets and go, oh, why won't it go past this point? Why does it keep crashing back down again? Because there's no such thing as continuous growth. Politicians tell us, oh, we've got to keep the economy growing all the time. They push, and then suddenly bang, recession. Why? Because this is a natural cycle. This is what things do. You plant your veggies at the beginning of spring, and then by the end of summer, they're back in the soil again. If they didn't do that, you'd just have these old plants that don't bear fruit. You need it to go through that cycle so you can have new ones. They go up, drop seeds. The seeds become new plants. They grow up, they collapse. This is the cycle of life. So if we start to understand and look, and you'll find this in your meditation practice, every time you close your eyes to meditate, or every time you look within, it's different. Because every moment is different. And this is what life is trying to teach us. So the pain happens when we expect something to be there and we don't want something to be there. So I said, yes, I get depressed. I still do. Right? And I'll explain soon the reason for that. And I still get irritated. Right? Irritation still comes up. Sadness still comes up over my mum. But there's a big difference here. When the sadness comes up, I don't suffer. When the depression comes up, unless I identify with that depression, I don't suffer. When the irritation comes up, unless I identify with that, I don't get irritated. So what you'll find is in your meditation practice, when you're watching these things, these feelings in your body, there's the experience and there's the watching of it. You are not the experience. The experience is life flowing through you. If you think you're the experience, then you identify with it. You identify with it, then I am depressed. This is forever and this will never change. I am irritated. Who was it that irritated me again? So I can just let them know about it. The reason why these things come up is originally we talked about karma. We talked about how whenever we relate to any moment, so to the present moment, however we're relating to this moment, right, is creating the possibility of us experiencing that again. So if I don't like what's happening right now, right, if I'm being aversive to it, in acting and thinking on that aversion, I'm exercising it. So chances are when something else comes up to trigger that, boom, off it will go again. So we're creating our own pain. A good way to understand this is think of us as being transparent. So imagine your body being totally transparent. Not separate, just transparent. You can see through it. You're standing in the middle of a river, the river of life. The river of life is a flow of experience, of experiences, and they're flowing through you. You are at one point in the river, and the river of life flows through you. When you're standing in that flow, you cannot know what's going to flow through you at any moment. And you see that when you close your eyes in meditation, you don't know what's coming. We've got no idea. It's dull now, but it might be crystal clear in a few minutes. No idea. Right? So it's flowing through you, so you don't know what's coming down. Now, what flows through you, this flow of experience going through you, is dependent on how in the past you have related to each moment. So think of it like this way. If I'm standing in the river of life and I dislike something and I act in anger, I'm thinking in an angry way, basically what I'm doing is I'm grabbing that anger and I'm throwing it back upstream. So there's a potential of that flowing back through me again if the conditions are right. If I'm acting in a really greedy or selfish way, I'm throwing that up. There's a chance when the conditions are right of the river flowing back through me and me experiencing the pain of that greed again. If I act in a very generous way, I'm throwing that upriver and there's more likely that washing through me and me experiencing it again too. So every single moment you are relating to each moment, right? Through an emotion. Even now, you're doing it moment by moment. And each time you react, you resist the moment, right? You're creating the potential of you experiencing that again, right? So if you react in negative ways that cause you pain or others suffering, right? You're creating habitual patterns in the mind that when the conditions are right, the seed will ripen, bang, you'll experience it again. That's why some people get angrier than others. Some people you just have to little touch and they'll have a rage against the world. Why? Because they've become very skilled at being angry. If there was Olympics for anger, they'd get a trophy for it. And that's what we're all like. Whatever emotions you experience, whatever feelings you experience in your body are due to how you've related to something in the past. Because you are exercising your brain. You are exercising it. You are growing neural pathways in your brain that says this is the most likely thing that you're going to experience. So what we're doing with mindfulness is we're being mindful of our relationship to things and then cutting off creating any new stuff. We don't want to throw any more stuff up the river. Or if we do, we want to throw up the river stuff that we can experience. Now the thing about the present moment is, with meditation, we can't actually meditate. When you're meditating, you are not meditating. That's why you're not experiencing peace and bliss when you're meditating all the time. Because you're not meditating. What you're doing is creating conditions for the future that possibly, when enough of those conditions are up there, that when you experience this experience right now, that might flow through and then suddenly the meditation practice will work. You'll get that bliss and peace. Can you see how it works? We can't change anything right now. This moment is how it is. But what we can do is we can create possible conditions in the future for it to ripen. So the more you do this mindfulness practice, the more possibility there is that you'll be mindful in the future. And then as that builds up and that flows through and you have more moments of being mindful, mindfulness will stop you from reacting in a negative way, from resisting the present moment. When it stops you from resisting the present moment, if you don't resist the present moment, don't grasp on and push it away, the river flows through you. It goes downstream. You'll never experience that again for the rest of your life. Never. But because we've related to something in a certain way many times in our life, not just once, there's still many more of those moments to flow through us. But if we can sit there and say, okay, I feel unpleasant, so what? What does that matter? Okay, I feel irritated, and it's just a feeling. Don't have to act to that one. Just let it go. If you do that, more of these moments flow through. You're actually working through your stuff. This is what working through your stuff is. It's not thinking about it. It's sitting with that feeling, that unpleasant feeling tone, that unpleasant, what people call cravings. Cravings can't hurt you. This whole thing, oh, I can't give up smoking, blah, blah, blah. Feelings cannot hurt you. What's a feeling? Got feelings in our body all the time. It's just a feeling, it's an unpleasant feeling. Yeah. And so when you start to understand this, be careful in how you're relating to anything. Can you see how this works? Different way of looking at it. So you watch it now. What we're going to do is we're going to do a meditation practice, and I want you to just to feel that flow. First, I'll just read something from Eckhart Tolle that's to do with this. It's on surrender, because that's what we've got to learn to do, is we've got to learn to surrender to each moment. When you surrender to what is, and so become fully present, the past ceases to have any power. The realm of being which had been obscured by the mind then opens up suddenly. A great stillness arises in you, an unfathomable sense of peace. And within that peace there is great joy, and within that joy there is love. And at the innermost core there is the sacred, the immeasurable, that which can't be named. It all starts with non-resistance. Knowing that whatever is happening right in this moment is what is supposed to be happening. It can't be any other way. No moment can be different to how it is. We can't change this moment. But what we can do is we can change the way we're relating to this moment. And if we change the way we're relating to this moment, it will actually change future moments when they flow through. But if we struggle to change what we're experiencing right now, we're creating more painful moments that will come. It will never stop, ever. It's feeling the pain deep enough and just saying, you know what, I just don't feel like struggling anymore. When you do that, there's total acceptance. When you've got total acceptance, then the pain goes away. You've got total peace. Because in that there's deep contentment. In deep contentment, whatever is happening right now is exactly what you want to happen right now. So it doesn't matter whether your mind's confused or whether your mind's not. Because you know that's what's supposed to be there. And you know you are not that confusion. But if you resist it, you become that confusion. I am this confusion, this will never change. That's just how it works. And that's what we're doing here, is getting to understand that. Is there any questions? Okay. Anyone need a stretch? So that kind of made sense, didn't it? Made sense to me.